I'm going to try to make bingo with my 2026 MLB predictions, but the predictions must get bolder the further I get from the center. So the middle is basically a lock, but the corners are long shots. I also can't predict anything that happened in 2025, and it must be possible for me to get every prediction right. Let's start right in the middle. As my pseudo free space, I'm locking in an OPS over 675 for Adley Rutschman. 2025 was the second consecutive year of decline, but I'm still a big believer going into 2026. His plate discipline is still elite, and I attribute most of last year's struggles to the oblique injury that plagued him all season long. Speaking of Orioles hitters who struggled in 2025, I'm locking in one of my outer predictions as Jackson Holliday to not finish the season on the MLB roster. 2025 was a step forward from his rookie year, but probably not as big as most had hoped for. Holliday is far too selective, and when he does decide to swing, he usually hits it on the ground and not very hard. Baltimore is going to be fighting to make the playoffs and maybe even fighting to win the East. So if Holliday doesn't take a step forward, I could see them replacing him in the short term by mid-season. You may not like all my predictions today, but I bet a lot of you will like this one. I'm predicting the Dodgers do not win the World Series this year. With the way people are talking about 2026, you'd think LA has already three-peated. They're definitely the favorite, but anything can happen in the MLB playoffs, and there are several teams I like this year. One of them is the Tigers, who I predict will win the AL Central. They probably should have won it last year, and they've improved over the offseason. Despite his theatrics, Framber Valdez is an ace, giving the Tigers one of the best 1-2s in baseball. Although I have the Tigers winning the division, I'm actually picking a different AL Central team to go further in the playoffs. I'm predicting that the Royals go all the way to the ALCS in 2026. KC was just above 500 last year, but I think they're very exciting for 2026. The lineup is being drastically underrated in my eyes, and I think there's enough in the pitching staff to get them in the playoffs. How many teams in baseball can say they have a prime candidate for the MVP, Cy Young, and Rookie of the Year? Speaking of which, I'm locking in Carter Jensen as my prediction for Rookie of the Year. I think him and Salvador Perez can coexist in the lineup between DH and catcher. Jensen hits the ball incredibly hard, and he does so without swinging and missing as much as you think he would. And you know what? I have one more Royals prediction. I'm predicting Maikel Garcia will have an OBP over 400. Great bat-to-ball skills, plus good plate discipline, plus hitting the ball hard is a perfect combination in my book. I've seen some people predicting a step back for Garcia, but I think he's just getting started. The Royals and Tigers are two teams I believe in, but how about some teams I'm hesitant about going into 2026? Starting with the Padres, who I have missing the playoffs this year. I think this rotation might be one of the worst in baseball, and I'm not convinced the offense will be able to carry the load. I'm a little worried that the division will be so weak that they'll get in by default, but I'm hoping either the Giants or the D-backs take steps forward this year. Another team I'm fading is the Brewers, who I'll go one step further and say they'll lose 90+ games this year. I don't like betting against smart organizations, but I just don't quite see it with this roster. There is not one sure thing in the rotation, and the lineup is just unspectacular. Speaking of, I'm predicting Jackson Chourio hits fewer than 20 home runs this year. He's hit over 20 the past 2 seasons, but I'm a little worried that this could be the year strikeouts catch up to him. He doesn't hit the ball hard consistently, mostly because he swings at a lot of pitches out of the zone. I think pitchers will use his aggression against him this season, resulting in more strikeouts, and when he does put the ball in play, it won't be on a pitch he can crush. Even if he makes an adjustment and stops chasing so much, I don't think pitchers will be afraid to walk him with the lineup that's behind him. Chourio is one young outfielder I'm not particularly excited about this year. One that I am excited about is Wyatt Langford. I'm predicting an above 900 OPS for him this year. Last year his OPS was 775, but Langford is Chourio's polar opposite. He hits the ball incredibly hard and does not expand the strike zone. If he can get back to his lower strikeout rate of his rookie year, he could be one of the best hitters in baseball. He's not the only Ranger hitter I'm fired up about. I'm predicting Corey Seager is at top 10 in the MVP race. He's had a hard time staying on the field really since 2021, but when he is on the field, he's one of the best hitters in the world. I think he'll stay healthy enough to have a monster year in Texas. All this talk about hitting, let's talk about some defense. I'm predicting Denzel Clark will win a Gold Glove in 2026. I think this is basically a lock if he plays the whole season. I'm a tad concerned he's not going to hit well enough to start all year, but it's hard to deny how jaw-dropping he is in the outfield. Let's reveal my first corner pick, which again are my 4 boldest predictions. I'm predicting Kyle Bradish wins the Cy Young Award in the AL. I feel like almost everyone is on Bradish, but it's for good reason. Bradish has elite stuff and is one of the best bat missers in baseball. If he pitches even 160 innings, I think he's going to pitch well enough to get Cy Young recognition. Obviously, a lot has to go right for him to actually win it, but I don't think it's completely outside the realm of possibility. Another pitcher I like that I don't think has gotten enough hype is Mike Burrows. I'm predicting he'll be the second best Astros starter. Burrows' changeup is phenomenal, which makes him really tough on left-handed hitters. He's also a great strike thrower who can get swings and misses inside the strike zone. I like Burrows a lot, and I'm not so high on Christian Javier, Lance McCullers, or Tatsuya Imai. I'm predicting Logan O'Hoppe will have the most homers on the Angels. I think the Angels lineup might be horrible in 2026. I'm not a big believer in Joe Adell or Zach Neto, and if Mike Trout doesn't play a full season, I could see O'Hoppe being their best hitter. O'Hoppe still hits the ball incredibly hard, and if he can make a tad more contact, he could easily hit 25 home runs, which I think has a real shot of being enough to lead the team. Speaking of guys who hit a lot of home runs, I'm predicting Austin Riley will hit 40 or more this year. Riley hits the ball really hard, and he hits it in the air. Injuries kept him far from 40 the last 2 seasons, but even in his healthy years, he didn't quite get to 40. I think he'll stay healthy and have a career year offensively in 2026. Speaking of gaudy stat totals, I'm predicting Yandy Diaz will lead the majors in hits. Diaz makes an awful lot of contact for someone who hits the ball as hard as he does. Usually that contact is on the ground, which isn't great for power, but it's great for collecting a ton of hits. Next, I'm predicting the Nationals have the worst record in baseball in 2026. I honestly think Washington has a bottom 3 lineup, rotation, and bullpen. The White Sox and especially the Rockies were both worse in 2025, but I can find a lot more that I like about those 2 teams than I can that I like about Washington. Even the exciting young hitters on this team, I think have a lot of questions about them, and the rotation might actually be the worst in baseball if you remove the Coors Field element. I'm not anti-Andrew Abbott, I just think he overachieved last year. I don't think a guy who doesn't get an abundance of strikeouts can have a sub-3 ERA in Cincinnati, especially with how many fly balls Abbott allows. I think Boston will miss out on the playoffs this year. I just don't think 4 teams will make it from the East, and I like New York, Toronto, and Baltimore all more. I think Brent Rooker will hit more home runs this year than Nick Kurtz. I'm not super passionate about this pick, I just think Kurtz is being a tad overhyped and will likely take a step back in 2026. I do think Rooker is one of the more underrated hitters in baseball. There are not a lot of guys in baseball who are above average at swinging at pitches in the zone while also being above average at laying off of pitches outside the zone. Combine that with good exit velocities and the ability to hit the ball in the air, and I think Rooker's just a very good hitter. My final 3 predictions are my other long shot corner predictions. First of all, I think TJ Rumfield will get Rookie of the Year votes in 2026. Paul DePodesta is the new Rockies GM, and for those who don't know, he's the Moneyball guy. Acquiring Rumfield was one of his first moves as Rockies GM, and Rumfield is kind of what a 2026 Scott Hatterberg would look like. Pretty good plate discipline with some pop, and it sounds like he's going to make the opening day lineup. Playing in Coors, I could see Rumfield having a nice little season and maybe getting some Rookie of the Year votes. I'm predicting Kyle Schwarber will win the 2026 Home Run Derby. I don't even know if he's participating, but it is in Philadelphia and he's as good a bet to win it as any. My final bold prediction for the 2026 MLB season is that some hitter breaks the all-time single-season strikeout record. James Wood was close to doing this last year, and I think it's inevitably going to happen soon, so why not in 2026? So what do you think? Do you think I can make bingo with my 2026 MLB predictions? Obviously, I think my best chances are the 2 lines that go through the middle, but I actually think this diagonal has a pretty sneakily good shot as well. Let me know if you think I'll make bingo with my 2026 predictions and leave your bold predictions in the comments. I can't wait for the start of this MLB season, and I think it's going to be a great year for baseball. I have a lot planned for the channel in 2026, including a big project that I'm very excited about that I'm hoping to release in early April. If you're excited about what I have in store, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching.